Hello guys, welcome back to the channel for the third installment of our massive breakdown covering this incredible magical martial arts journey. Quick heads up before we dive in. The narration on this channel might sound a little different or slightly off at times. But trust me, you absolutely want to stay until the very end because the twists in this chapter are going to leave you completely hooked on this manhwa. When we last left our crew, a peaceful family trek had abruptly transformed into a terrifying battlefield, leaving our tiny MC Arthur trapped inside a surrounded carriage while his allies prepared for the fight of their lives. Today we're diving into a massive, action-packed episode, so get comfortable and hit that like button. The stakes jump from 0 to 100 as we see an ancient king raging inside a toddler's body, the twin horns proving why they're veteran adventurers, a devastating sacrifice that pushes Art's family to the edge, and a deeper look into King Gray's haunting memories. Let's jump straight into the action. We open right where the chaos kicks off, with the bandit leader boldly claiming he intends to capture the women and children alive because damaged goods sell for less. Hearing his family referred to as mere cargo instantly snaps something deep inside Arthur. His face completely darkens, his eyes narrowing into a terrifyingly intense scowl as he internally fumes. It seems I've been living in a bubble for too long. I almost forgot that every world has its own share of filth like him. Furious, Art prepares to completely abandon his facade and unleash his hidden powers on the battlefield. But before he can take a single step, his mother Alice suddenly pulls him into a tight, desperate embrace. Holding him close, she whispers, "Don't worry, I'm here." Just like that, the sheer warmth of a mother's love completely melts away the cold, murderous wrath of the warrior king inside him, reminding him of what he truly needs to protect. Outside the carriage, absolute chaos erupts. The bandit archers waste no time and unleash a heavy volley of arrows right toward the travelers. Acting instantly, Durden Walker, the twin horn's formidable earth magic user, steps up to the plate. He slams his staff down, chanting a defensive spell that causes the ground to fracture and violently erupt, raising a massive, solid earth wall to shield their main cart. Simultaneously, two stray arrows manage to bypass the defense, hurtling straight toward Arthur and his vulnerable mother. But before disaster can strike, Angela Rose intercepts them, flawlessly casting a wind spell that effortlessly deflects the lethal projectiles away. With the initial volley taken care of, Arthur's dad, Ray, leads the counterattack. Ray charges headfirst into the fray alongside the twin horns, swinging his weapon and literally crushing the oncoming bandits like they are nothing more than standard carrots. The team fights with flawless synergy, perfectly covering each other's blind spots. As the skirmish spreads across the rocky terrain, the scene shifts to focus on Jasmine, who finds herself locked in a duel against a genuinely twisted opponent. This bandit utilizes a long, unpredictable whip as his primary weapon, swinging it wildly while shouting disgusting taunts. "Stop struggling, baby. I'll make sure to train you so well you'll be begging to stay with me in the end." Jasmine relies on her elite agility, executing tight dodges to evade the whipping strikes, but she is noticeably struggling to close the distance. Watching from the sidelines, Art's tactical mind immediately recognizes the danger. He is analyzing the matchup. She's at a disadvantage against her opponent's range. But can I help? A fighter is one thing, but do I have a chance against an adult augmenter with this body? Before he can even formulate a plan, a body is suddenly sent flying through the air, crashing violently right into their wooden cart. The sudden heavy impact leaves everyone in absolute shock. But the real horror sets in when the dust clears and they see exactly who took the hit. It's none other than Arthur's dad, Ray, who has been brutally battered by the powerful leader of the bandits. Seeing his father heavily injured, Art panics, urgently screaming at his mother to hurry up and cast her healing magic. However, the sheer trauma and terror of the war zone completely paralyzes Alice. She begins trembling uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face as the shock prevents her from properly channeling her mana. Coughing up blood but remaining incredibly brave, Ray looks up and reassures his terrified wife, wheezing out, "I'm fine, honey. My injuries aren't life-threatening. Don't worry and do your best." Turning his attention to his son, Ray's expression turns incredibly solemn. He looks Art dead in the eye and commands, "Art, listen carefully. After your mother uses her healing spell, those bad men are going to go after her. I'll be able to fend off the leader, but not if I have to worry about protecting you too. Take your mother back down the trail we came from and don't stop." Furious at the thought of abandoning his family, Arthur fires back with absolute confidence, yelling, "What are you talking about, Dad? I'm not leaving you. I can fight. You saw me." But Ray firmly places a hand on his son's shoulder, using his full government name to command absolute authority. "Listen to me, Arthur Lewin. I know you can fight. That's why I'm entrusting your mother to you. Protect her." We open on a brief emotional shift in perspective as we look back at a quiet moment right before the chaos. Art noticed his mother looking incredibly pale and exhausted, prompting him to ask if she was all right. She offered a tired but loving reassurance. "Just a little tired, honey. I'll be okay." However, the true reality of the situation hits our young prodigy immediately after. His father pulls him aside to reveal a massive, life-changing secret: his mother is actually pregnant. Ray admits he wanted to wait until they arrived safely in Zyra City to share the news, but the sudden danger forced his hand. With the shocking realization that he has an unborn sibling to protect, a fierce determination ignites inside our tiny Arthur. He grips his father's arm tightly and makes a solemn vow: "I'll protect Mom." Back on the battlefield, the tactical landscape shifts dramatically as Ray assesses the enemy forces with growing dread, shouting out a crucial warning: they've got 4 mages on their side. At the exact same time, the ruthless bandit leader spots Alice rushing to assist the fighters and completely panics, realizing exactly who she is. He commands his forces: "They have a healer, don't let her get away." Recognizing that his pregnant mother is now the primary target of an organized ambush, Arthur takes matters into his own hands. Forcefully pulling his mom away from the line of fire, he urges her to run, while mentally sending a desperate prayer back toward the front line: "Don't die on me, Dad." As Arthur and his mother attempt to escape the immediate crossfire, the danger escalates instantly. A rogue bandit breaks past the defense, charging directly toward them with lethal intent. Fortunately, Adam spots the threat just in time and executes a powerful, high-speed interception, throwing himself into a brutal clash to hold the enemy back while screaming, "I'll hold him down, get out of here." But the reprieve is entirely short-lived. A split second later, a hidden sniper lets loose a lethal arrow flying straight toward Arthur and his mother. Showing reflexes that absolutely defy the body of a toddler, Art tracks the projectile, drawing a simple wooden training sword to deflect the incoming strike. The impact is so intense that the wooden blade violently snaps in two, but Arthur's precise martial forms allow him to completely dodge the deadly projectile. Even the attacking bandit is left frozen in absolute shock, stammering, "How the hell did he?" before he can even finish his sentence. A perfectly placed counter arrow from Helen strikes him directly in the head, shutting him down instantly. Despite surviving the initial wave, Arthur's hyperanalytical mind instantly senses a fatal flaw in the flow of battle. He quickly scans the field, keeping a precise mental tally of the active threats. One mage is currently locked in a fierce magical duel with Angela, a second is trading blows with the red-haired fighter, and the third, the bandit leader himself, is engaged with Helen and Ray. Suddenly, the bandit leader roars out a desperate, commanding order across the canyon: "Forget the plan, Damien, don't let them live." The realization hits Arthur like a physical blow. His eyes widen in pure panic as he thinks to himself, who is he talking to? The missing 4th mage has been lying in wait the entire time, perfectly positioned to execute a fatal flank. Before anyone can react, the hidden 4th mage reveals himself, rapidly casting a high-tier water spell and unleashing a devastating torrent of pressurized water directly aimed at Arthur and his pregnant mother. Arthur's tactical mind calculates the trajectory in less than a millisecond, and the math yields a terrifying result. Even if I can use mana to dodge this, Mom won't be fast enough to. With absolutely no time left to formulate a grand strategy, our reincarnated king embraces a dark, selfless resolution. Pushing his mother violently out of the blast radius, he mentally apologizes for the rough treatment, knowing the alternative is far worse. As the ground gives way beneath him and he begins falling backward over the steep cliffside, Arthur locks eyes with the enemy caster, declaring his final intent: "I knew that if I couldn't make it, I wanted to bring the mage down with me." Channeling his remaining mana, he whips out a reinforced mana string, perfectly wrapping it around the mage's leg and dragging the terrified spellcaster down into the abyss along with him. The scene transitions into a heartbreaking slow-motion sequence as little Arthur plummets down the rocky chasm. Looking back up at the ridge one final time, a peaceful, tragic smile crosses his tiny face as he finds comfort in the success of his gambit, thinking, "Looks like everyone else will be okay." But as the wind rushes past him and the reality of his impending demise sinks in, the stoic composure of a former warrior king completely shatters. The emotional weight of the toddler body takes over and tears begin streaming down Arthur's face. In a deeply vulnerable, devastating final thought, he cries out against the cruel irony of his fate: "Damn, I always wanted to be an older brother." The narrative suddenly shifts gears entirely, taking a deep dive into Arthur's mysterious past life. Before he was a young magical prodigy in this new world, he was known across the realm as King Grey. We see him standing in a quiet, grand room adorned with framed portraits, silently reflecting on the heavy legacy left behind by the pictures hanging on the wall. The first picture reveals the council, the true governing body that managed the country's intricate politics and economy. The second picture brings us face to face with King Grey himself, accompanied by a sobering realization. In a resource-depleted world suffering from rapidly declining birth rates, large-scale wars were completely replaced by formal duels, and entire armies were replaced by single, powerful kings. Arthur grimly recalls, "I was one of them." Breaking the silence, an elderly council worker named Marlorn approaches the king, observing him closely. Admiring your handiwork, I see. While being part of the council is rewarding, I won't lie and say I'm not envious of the fame and glory you kings receive upon victories. Anyway, to what do I owe the pleasure of this unexpected visit? Without saying a word, King Gray reaches up to his neck, unclasps his heavy royal medal and firmly places it onto the desk. With a cold look he states, "I'm retiring Marlorn," before walking out the door. As he departs, his internal thoughts reveal the tragic emptiness of his past life. He spent his entire existence pushing himself to become the strongest warrior alive, but for what? Fame? Glory? In the end, he remained a lonely orphan with every single person he ever truly cherished completely gone. Talk about a depressing retirement plan. Arthur's memories flash back to a warmer time, the night spent camping around the crackling fire with his family and the Twin Horns adventure party. A deep wave of regret washes over him as he thinks, "I'd give up everything I had in that life for the chance to go back to Ashbur and see them all again." Slowly, his eyes flutter open to the harsh reality of the present. Weakly, he mutters the universal questions of a survivor. Where am I? How am I still alive? As his vision clears, his eyes land directly on the corpse of the bandit who had dragged him along. The brutal sight of the completely lifeless body instantly triggers his weak physical state, causing him to violently puke onto the grass. Not exactly the glamorous awakening of a legendary hero. Struggling to move his battered toddler body, Art spots the deceased bandit's supply bag. Crawling over, he discovers a small stash of food, pills, and fresh water. Desperate for sustenance, he eats the fruit, downs the water, and mutters a quiet, "Thanks for the meal," before immediately collapsing back into a deep, exhausted sleep. The scene transitions to the next morning, marked by the peaceful sound of birds chirping through the dense forest canopy. Art opens his eyes, immediately trying to push himself off the ground, but his weak muscles refuse to cooperate. Realizing his physical limitations, he centers his mind and focuses entirely on stimulating his internal mana core to force strength back into his limbs. With a surge of energy, he successfully forces himself onto his own 2 feet. He carefully loots the dagger and the supply bag from the bandit's corpse, looking around the unfamiliar wilderness in absolute disbelief. "I survived that. How long has it been, and where am I?" he asks himself. Shaking his head to clear the doubt, he resolves, "It doesn't matter, I have to move on." But just as he prepares to take his first steps into the unknown, a sudden echoing voice pierces the quiet forest. "Oi, you're awake." Completely caught off guard, our tiny MC instantly freezes in absolute shock. Who on earth just caught him red-handed in the middle of the woods? What an absolutely gut-wrenching masterpiece of an episode. The sheer emotional whiplash of learning about Alice's pregnancy, only for Arthur to immediately sacrifice his own life to protect his unborn sibling, completely redefines the stakes of this entire story. Our overpowered MC didn't fall because he was outsmarted. He fell because his love for his family completely overrode his own survival instincts. And now, just as he manages to scrape himself together and survive the wilderness, someone completely unexpected has found him. Who is this mysterious voice in the forest? Are they a friend, an enemy, or someone who can finally help Arthur get back to his family? Let me know all your emotional reactions and theories down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out when part 4 drops. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.